Heating costs have been going up this winter. That's why I've got the Cold Killer heater. It instantly heats up spaces within seconds. Traditional central heating can take hours before it warms the entire home, but the portable Cold Killer works in even the coldest corners of my home. It's my very own furnace at my fingertips. I can move it virtually anywhere I want, my desktop, countertop, patio, or any other flat surface that needs heat. Plus, there's an adjustable setting so I can control exactly how much heat I want. Order the Cold Killer today and take advantage of up to 50% off. For more information, click on www.thecoldkiller.com in the description box below. Good morning. I'm still reporting on the coup. Today's summary sentence from the Bible is from Luke. Luke, a medical doctor, a Gentile, and the author of both this gospel and the book of Acts, focused largely on Jesus' healing ministry in his account of Jesus' life. And his two-volume set of Luke and Acts, written for Theophilus, gives us an overview of Christ, the origins of Christianity, and the birth of the church. Many have undertaken to draw up an account of the things that have been fulfilled among us, just as they were handed down to us by those who from the first were eyewitnesses and servants of the Word. With this in mind, since I myself have carefully investigated everything from the beginning, I too decided to write an orderly account for you, most excellent Theophilus, so that you may know the certainty of the things you have been taught. Laura Ingram is an attorney who always regretted not taking a right turn early on in her college career to become a physician, but she's now in an even better place, a triple threat lawyer interested in medicine with a TV show with around 3 million viewers a night. To put that into perspective, in the last 365 days, I've had only 9.1 million viewers, so there. Laura has finally found her spot in life as the third member of Fox's Three Musketeer evening lineup. Now I can hear the howls from some of you. Fox betrayed us. Fox made a horrible mistake by helping decide the presidency by declaration instead of waiting on real results, and even then giving them the same scrutiny they give other news stories. They didn't, and that resulted in a huge loss in audience, which they richly deserved. Tucker made a very interesting comment on that last week.
Cancel culture is a left-wing phenomenon. They're the only ones who do it, and it is intensely ideological. That's the number one thing that determines whether you're going to be canceled is your political views.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Matt Walsh, great to see you tonight. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Cancel culture. It is happening everywhere. At some point it will end, and I do think that the people who stood up in the face of it will get the credit they deserve, and some of those people are the ones who own and run this channel. Whatever you think of Fox News, the people who run this place are tough and principled, and that's why we're still here. I wouldn't say it if it weren't true. It is true. It's demonstrably true. We're still here. Thank God.
I believe him. I think the Murdochs tried to steer the Fox ship of state over to join the other globalists, but they quickly discovered that their audience were not the sleepy-eyed sheep that inhabit CNN and MSNBC. We made Fox what it is because the not-so-mainstream media had all come under the thrall of the New World Order group, totally played by the script, zero real news hounds over there. I hope Fox has learned their lesson, and it's because I believe that the Three Musketeers marched up to the top of 40 Rock and told the Murdoch boys to do a 180 or else, and it's worked for the time being. But hey, any port in a storm. So my read, and I'm modestly close to this situation, is that Fox has been set back on course, and the big three are worthy of our trust and support. I'll let you know if I see any different smoke signals from The Rock. Now, Laura Ingram has been the leading TV personality with a multi-million audience when it comes to COVID, no question. She put up a story late last week on masks that I believe is definitive. In other words, true.
Critically important, the message of wearing this mask through the next year here can save lives, a significant number of lives.
I told you, Biden's mask mandate would be with us forever if he and Dr. Fauci have their way. And of course, this mask insanity completely ignores the best science. Now, in perhaps the most comprehensive review of the evidence on masks to date, Dr. Paul Alexander and his co-authors write, "It is not unreasonable at this time to conclude that surgical and cloth masks have absolutely no impact on controlling the transmission of COVID-19, and current evidence implies face masks can be actually harmful." Well, shocking, but not entirely surprising if true. Now, you see, back in May of last year, the CDC released its own study on masks. The focus there was the influenza virus, saying that evidence from 14 randomized controlled trials did not support a substantial effect on transmission of lab-confirmed influenza. All right, well, joining me now is Dr. Scott Atlas, former White House COVID advisor and Hoover Institution senior fellow. Dr. Atlas, why has this study from May by the CDC been completely memory hold?
Yeah, Laura, thanks for having me. Well, masks are really the radioactive issue of this whole pandemic.
I love academics like Dr. Scott Atlas. Trump could not have picked a better advisor on COVID matters. But masks are not the radioactive issue. Any of the cheap legacy treatment drugs that compete with the $4,000 per treatment remdesivir is far more verboten than masks. It's just that the mask issue affected a much larger percentage of the world population. Oh, and by the way, remdesivir isn't a complete flop, but it certainly has not lived up to its expectations. And I predict that time will tell that the legacy treatments will test out better. Yes, masks affect more people, but had one of the legacy drugs been proclaimed to have curative powers by the not-so-mainstream media, this COVID pandemic may have come to a screeching halt, to the point where the mask mandates would not have taken hold. That was the true third rail of news reporting of the last year. But the mask gambit is still pretty bad. Dr. Atlas is right.
And it's really something that is a real case study in how people have just simply ignored all the data that's contrary to what they want to believe and want everybody else to believe. The CDC study in May 2020, in all the randomized studies of masks, showed that masks on the general population for influenza pandemics do not stop the transmission nor receiving the infection. That's what they say in 2 or 3 different ways in that article. That's never reported. It's also never reported, as Alexander and his colleagues pointed out, the abundant empirical evidence from Europe, Austria, Germany, Belgium, Italy, the UK, Spain, as well as many states. There are 37 or 38 states in the US, and including the other states have had city mandates on masks, yet the cases were not controlled by mask mandates. And then there's, the other data from Denmark, the one large randomized study of general population use of masks that showed not a significant reduction in the spread of cases. All of this evidence you'll never hear about in the news. You'll never see it in the newspapers.
And Dr. Atlas, it's worse than that. When you even raise the issue of studies that were performed, some of them ignored, then you're an anti-masker. Then you're a horrible, awful, rotten person who wants the virus to rage all over the world, which is just preposterous, obviously. Now, Dr. Atlas, if the science is, let's say, charitably not clear, what is this whole act about leakage and demonstrations and 2, 3, 4 masks? What is it all about? Why is he doing this, do you think?
Yeah, the usage of masks, again, has taken on a life of its own. I think it shows something more fundamental, Laura, which is that there's a tremendously damaged psyche, particularly in the United States, a tremendous amount of fear that people think, okay, they want to naturally have some control over this when they're afraid, and the only thing they can really do besides wash their hands a lot and use social distancing, is they can have a mask. And so, I'm not sure. I think that your point is very important. What is the end game here? When are we going to be able to live normally? If everyone is vaccinated, we still have to socially distance, wear masks,
Yes.
don't hug your grandchildren.
Yes.
What's going on here?
Yeah.
Is it true that if we don't have any cases, we better still be careful because there could be a new strain that pops up? I mean, I just think that people really have to I believe in giving people the information. We live in a free country. I think it's very worrisome here, the threat to civil liberties. They're bigger than what we think. There could be curfews forever. It's conceivable to me that you would be restricted from going outside unless you can prove you're COVID free. I mean, there's all kinds of things that are down the line here that we've never known the power of the government until we saw it during this pandemic. And what's worse, we never knew the power of fear in people acquiescing to things, even if they don't believe in them.
I'm still reporting from just outside the citadel of world freedom. Good day. Every doctor on TV says that we all need to boost our immune systems. And STEM Enhance does that in a unique way by increasing blood levels of your own adult stem cells, the backbone of your immune system, by over 30% in just 1 hour. Click on the link in the description box below for details.